Leicester who were killed fighting in the Spanish Civil War. Fred Sykes, Jack Watson, Roy Watts. And this is a particularly important place, the Market Square, because this was where Fred Sykes was arrested for, and I will quote from the right, Marketplace is significant because Fred was arrested here while campaigning against the attack on democracy in Spain. And he was arrested for, quote, shouting and behaving in a disorderly way. The case was dismissed. Okay. Later, after he was killed, his comrades assembled here in this marketplace to remember and pay tribute to his sacrifice. So this makes it the appropriate space for it to be seen by the citizens of Leicester, and to ensure our comrades will be remembered in perpetuity, and that the message that we all need to be vigilant against fascism will be permanently embossed on the streets of Leicester. The other association that Leicester has got with the Spanish Civil War was when 4,000 Basque children came to Britain to be distributed amongst the people of Britain who took in and cared for them. And here in Leicester we have 50 children who were housed at the Evington Hall, and the committee who were responsible for that, the secretary of that committee was one Mary Attenborough, who was the mother of David and Richard Attenborough. So we have a strong association here in Leicester with that movement. So you've probably got the programme of what's going to happen. And what's going to happen now is that the Red Leicester Choir will sing Bandera Rossa for us, and then we will continue with the programme. Okay, thank you. The Red Leicester Choir, that was excellent, and they will be on to end the programme today, so we will hear from them later. I'd like to introduce you now to Chris Willars, who is the President of the Leicester and District Trades Union Council.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the International Brigades Memorial Trust, City Council and the organisers of this event. As the representative of the trade union movement in Leicester and Leicestershire, I can wholeheartedly give our support of all those trade unions, and I'm sure the whole labour movement, to those comrades who fought against fascism in Spain in their bloody civil war. Their fight was just and courageous, and it's right that we remember them. It's also fitting that we're holding it here in the marketplace, in many ways the heart of radical Red Leicester. The steps to my right are where many of my city's heroes have spoken. Amos Sheriff, whose vinyl is just around the corner, led a hunger march to London in 1905, and there's a commemorative stone just in front of me. He spoke many times here in support of the rights of ordinary working people for justice and freedom from oppression. Alice Hawkins' vinyl is right next to Amos Sheriff's, and her statue is just on the other side of the corn exchange here. A working class suffragette spoke many times here for equality and social justice. And the three people that we've come here to honour, Fred Sykes, Roy Watts and Jack Watson, all took part listening and speaking at events here. As we've already heard, Fred was arrested for protesting too loudly. I think we'd all agree there is no such thing as protesting too loudly. We can honour them by continuing to fight fascism in all its forms, and fighting prejudice, racism, anti-Semitism, and fighting for socialism, justice and freedom for all the citizens of the world. Sajid Javid may make cheap party political jibes protected by parliamentary privilege about certain elements of the labour movement being neo-fascists, but in my opinion actions speak louder than words. While his political forebears were trying to prevent Europe from helping the elected government in Spain, my forebears were fighting Franco in the international brigades. While his cheerleaders in the Daily Mail were supporting Hitler, mine were in Cable Street, turning back Mosley's black shirts. While his political forebears were stirring up racial hatred with talking of rivers of blood, mine were fighting back the National Front. In recent times we've opposed the BNP, the EDL, and we will continue to do so wherever we need to. We'll never forget those fighters in the international brigades. We still need your determination, your courage and your spirit. And with that spirit, we will win. No passerad! No passerad!
Thank you, Chris. Yes, the sentiments of us all. So now I'd like to introduce Marlene Sidaway, who is the President of the International Brigades Memorial Trust, to say a few words.
Thank you. Hello everyone, it's great to be here, and I just welcome so much the achievement of getting this wonderful memorial here in such a, an appropriate place for Leicester, and thank you all for here. Can you hear me all right? Yeah? Right. Now I'd just like to echo Chris's, sorry, don't mind me calling you Chris, why he was saying it is so important for us to remember them. The International Brigade Memorial Trust does just that. We were formed to educate the rest of the public who don't know anything about the International Brigade, and those who want to remember them and want to pass on the spirit that drove them all to Spain to fight against fascism. We must not let their ideals, their reasons for going, be forgotten, and we must always, always be aware that fascism is a real threat to us now, and we must fight it wherever we see it. There's a poet, I've read this before, but I'd like you to hear Aileen Palmer's wonderful poem. Now, Aileen Palmer was an Australian, and she was in Barcelona Olympiad, the alternative Olympiad, and she was there when the war broke out. She was evacuated by boat to Britain, but then she went back to Spain in August to be an administrator for the medical aid. And she wrote this wonderful poem which tells us all why we have to remember them. It's called The Dead Have No Regrets. The dead have no regrets. They went proudly to their tumultuous doom, but sitting in a crowded room, we mourn our lives too tamely spent. We shut the door and turn the lock, but while we talk and analyze, within our ears, before our eyes, ticks the implacable clock. Today we gather up the threads, discuss the issue, great or small. Perhaps tomorrow it will fall, the sword that hangs above our heads. Black wings are massed against the dawn. What will it matter that we rhyme our chronicles of wasted time if liberty is gone? What will it matter that we write our own remembrance of things past if all we write can only last until tomorrow night? If all the books from which we learn, the poets that we praise today, before the onslaught of decay, with Lorca and Heine burn. If Europe's walls come tumbling down, and one by one the bastions fall, what will it matter if we all, in that great chaos, drown? We search the minutes we have spent, but feel in time's relentless beat the threat of ultimate defeat. Only the dead can rest content, having given all they had to give, to save from blood and fire and dust at least a hope that we can trust. We must remember them and live. And I hope that during many, many years to come, there will be gatherings like this in front of this memorial here, and we will remember these three men and all of the other men and women, all of the people of this nation who helped the Spanish Republic by raising money for their cause, by helping the Basque children as they did here. We must always remember the support that we gave to the ideals of the Republican government and the anti-fascist movement in Spain, and we must keep it in mind when we're fighting Spain, wherever we're fighting fascism, wherever we find it. Sorry, I'll just have to lean against this wall, so I'm wobbling a bit. I'm getting on. So I'll take a sort of nuanced standpoint. Yeah, you carry me if I'm small. People often say to me, why did they go? And if you've seen our exhibition, which many of you have, there are two panels that say why they went. And David, my partner, went when he was 20, before the International Brigades were formed. And he was working in the civil service. He was handing out dole money to queues of men whom he'd been at school with. Good men, capable of working and keeping their families, and there was no work. It was the middle of the Depression on T's side, and he just thought, surely there must be a way to organise society so that everybody is much more equal. And he realised that in Republican Spain, that's what they were trying to do. It's called I Sing of My Comrades. I sing of my comrades that once did sing the Internationale in that great choir at Albacete before the battle. Rank after rank of the young battalions, singing the Internationale. They came from every corner of the earth. So many men from distant lands who took to arms in the defense of Spain's republic. Madrid, the magnet that drew us all along slow roads to Spain. At last a star for desperate men, sensing the gathering storm. And we that fought to warn a watching world were called false prophets by appeasers, yet we fought for the poor of the world. Our lullabies were soldiers' songs, sung by sad women to the sons of the fallen, and remembered in Remembrance Day long past, after the throbbing drum and shriek of bugles. I listened to the slow lament for brothers, sons, and lovers lost. It is the sadness in the singing, the undertones of woe, the deep vein of grief that throbs throughout my generation. Thank you.
To try and break the rising fascist flag, when the lines were the powerful and wealthy, Frank Brown meant in front of the other side. Here's sing with us, come on. We don't mind, do we? Now Bob Hilliard was the Church of Ireland pastor. From Killarney across the Pyrenees he came. From Derry came the brave young Christian brothers, and side by side the both died in Spain. Tommy Woods at 17 died in October. With the Vienna he learned the Holy Gun. From Dublin to the Via del Rio, he fought and died beneath the Spanish. Are you going to sing with us? Come on, anyone. Viva la Italia, no passando presidente flight. Atlantis to try on the hillside. Let us all remember them tonight. Many Irishmen, they heard the call of battle, joined Hitler and Mussolini too. Propaganda from the pulpit and newspaper helped old Duffy to enlist his team. Now the word came from the church to support the Nazis. All the men of God, they failed us again. When the bishop blessed the blue coat down in Galway, as we sail beneath the swastika to Spain. Here we go. Viva la Italia, no passing on the president fight. Atlantis to try on the inside. Let us all remember them tonight. Now the song is a tribute to Frank Ryan, Kid Conway and Diddy Cordy too. Peter Daly, Charlie Reagan and Hugh Bonner. How many died acting in brothers? Danny Boyle and Blazer Brown and Charlie Donnelly. Liam Thompson, Jim Slaney from the fall. Jack Nolte, Tony Patton and Frank Conroy. Jim Boney, Tony Fox, Nick O'Neill. Viva la Italia, no passing on the president fight. Now 3 brave men, they left their homes in the street. Their open eyes could see no other way. They faced up to the powerful and wealthy. They did not live to fight another day. Now Jack Watson and Sykes and Morana, between the river and the wild mountain side, Roy Watson breathed his last air at the time. Backing Leicester, he left his sweetheart behind. Sing with me. Viva la Italia, no passa the place and cry. Atlantis, the cry around the hillside. Let us all remember them tonight. One more time. Viva la Italia, no passa the place and cry. Atlantis, the cry around the hillside. Let us all remember them tonight. Let us all remember them tonight. Let us all remember them tonight. Go Papa! There you go.
Thank you. This next song is a very old song. Actually, it was originally written in 18-something, early 19th century, when Napoleon invaded Spain. It was a good opportunity for Spain to know about the illustration, about different things of thinking, but we failed. 100 and something years later, due to the Civil War, Spanish War, we had a hint of the October Revolution, but we didn't get much of it. Nowadays, well, it can sound I'm not very proud of my country. I'm not really, but thinking of these 3 guys who went from Leicester to fight in Spain, well, I'm so thankful. The best thing I can do is singing here. Tony, I've been invited by Tony, by the way, a couple accident. That's my way of saying thank you, and you know, while I've been so welcomed by the English people, I feel so comfortable here in England. I can't do anything but think that brotherhood is stronger than greed and fascism and all those people who think that they're better than the rest. So let's carry on fighting and never forget these 3 guys. Thank you very much.
The Pass of the Obro.
That's all right.
Una noche vio fruto, ay canela, cross the river at night, ay canela, ya las tropas invasoras, that were invaded, nueva la snow, ay canela, even such a crashing, ay canela, viva la Quinta Brigada, viva la Quinta Brigada, fue tu vida de gloria, ay canela. fight against the Moors. Mercenarios y fascistas, ay carambela, ay carambela. Mercenaries and fascists, ay carambela, ay carambela. El furor de los traidores, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. Now the rage of these traitors, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. All is coming up the throat, ay carambela, ay carambela. Is dropped by their airport, ay carambela, ay carambela. Pero nada pueden bombas, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. Now these bombs, they have no power, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. Donde sobra el corazón, ay carambela, ay carambela. We have so much heart, ay carambela, ay carambela. Solo es nuestro deseo, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. It's our only desire, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. Acabando el racismo, ay carambela, ay carambela. To stamp fascism out, ay carambela, ay carambela. Ya salimos de España, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. And now we're leaving Spain, rumbala, rumbala, rumbala. A luchar en nuestras venas, ay carambela, ay carambela. To fight on other fronts, ay carambela, ay carambela. Viva la lucha vergara, ay carambela, ay carambela. Viva la lucha vergara, ay carambela, ay carambela. Viva la lucha vergara, ay carambela, ay carambela.
What do you need me doing? One man, one job. Yeah, the next speaker is from the Clarion Socialist Cycling Club, and I've asked to introduce it. One, because I'm also a member of Clarion, and he's a good friend of mine. And I'm tempted to start telling you all about the Clarion, but I'm going to steal Charles's speech. So please welcome from the Clarion Cycling Club, Charles Jepson.
Thank you, comrades. Comrades, I recall a number of years ago, down at Tolpuddle, Tony Benn telling the crowd at Tolpuddle Marshals Rally, telling the crowd, know your history, learn your history, understand your history, but most important of all, never ever forget your history. And I honestly believe, comrades, that this plaque in this market square will help to ensure that the memory of three exceptional young men from this city is never ever forgotten. These young men, they had everything to live for. They were young, they were fit, they were probably good looking, probably good at the dance, and probably good at football as well. They had everything to live for. But no, they were prepared to leave their homes, their jobs, their families, to go and help total strangers in their hour of need. They were prepared to break the laws of this country to travel to Spain, because our cowardly government have passed an act preventing people travelling to Spain. They were prepared to leave their jobs, their families and their homes. They were prepared to stand by people they had never met, people who spoke a language they didn't even speak. All that mattered is that they were fellow workers under attack. They didn't ask the colour of their skin, they didn't ask their trade, they didn't ask their political allegiance, they didn't ask their religion. What mattered was their class, and they were being attacked by fascists, and they went to help these people. Unlike our political leaders of the time, these young men realised that fascism wouldn't stop at the borders of Spain, it would spread beyond Spain. And bombs on Madrid today meant bombs on London, Leicester, Coventry tomorrow. These young men knew that for fascism to survive, it needs only two things. It needs weak, vulnerable victims, and it needs good people to stand back and do nothing. These young men were good people. but they were not prepared to stand back and do nothing. They knew that fascism had to be confronted, and it had to be confronted by the armed struggle. It was no good appeasing them. The British government were appeasing the fascists, hoping that they would not take too much. Well, these young men knew different. They knew fascism had to be stopped, and stopped by the force of arms. Italian cyclist Ray Cox, originally he came from Portsmouth. He worked for the Co-op. He moved to Leicester. He was a political activist. He spoke on the streets of Leicester. He spoke on the streets of Portsmouth. He was a member of the Communist Party. He was a member of his trade union. He knew the meaning of worker solidarity. He'd been taught it on the shop floor. He'd been taught it in the streets. He'd been taught it at the branch meeting. He'd been taught it at the political cell. And he'd been taught it on the picket line. And he knew what solidarity meant. The Workers United, it wasn't a slogan just to chant on demonstrations. It was a principle to live by and die for if necessary. And when the call came from Spain, Ray Watts gave up everything to go and help his Spanish brothers and sisters. He knew what he was going to do. He knew what he was fighting for. And this is a letter that he wrote shortly before he was killed at the age of 23 at the Battle of the Ebro. And these are his actual words. I am happy and proud to place my services with the workers of Spain in their heroic fight against the bestialities of fascism. We have nothing in common with the outlook of fascists who glorify death as their ideal. We love life, but because we love it, we do not begrudge giving it in order to save humanity from the enemies of life. Many of our best comrades have already fallen. We do not hide the bitter pain of their loss, but their death calls not for mourning, but for action. Ray Cox sadly died when the fascist bomb hit his position on the Ebro. He was aged 23. Ray Cox and his comrades, they were not able to stop fascism in Spain, and sadly fascism is still with us. It lives in the gutters, it lives in the sewers, and most important of all, it lives in the pockets of the bosses, the bankers and the bishops. It lies there waiting to be pulled out. It lies there waiting to be pulled out in these times of Tory-created austerity. Lost your job, brother? Blame the black, blame the immigrant, blame the asylum seeker, blame the disabled, blame the lazy teachers, blame the greedy nurses, blame anybody except for the bosses, the bankers and the politicians who turn a blind eye to tax evasion and the offshore banking. Comrades, we trust politicians at our peril. Our only hope lies in building a strong, militant trade union movement to defend the rights of the workers. Roy Watts and his comrades knew that in 1930, and it's as true today. There are no grey areas in this struggle. There are no grey areas. You are with us or you're against us. There is no in between. If the Spanish Civil War taught us anything, it taught us that the appeasers are the fascists' best friend. We must not appease fascists. Every time somebody attacks an immigrant, every time somebody attacks a foreign worker, they break a link and a chain of worker solidarity to the pleasure of the bosses. We must stand together united, comrades. Comrades, we must fight the local politicians who give the right for fascists to march on our streets. They do not have the right to divide our community and spread hatred. We must fight politicians who give them that right. Comrades, we must fight the appeasers who defend that right. And if necessary, comrades, like the people of the East End of London, if necessary, we must fight the police who try and force their marches through our communities. No passerelle was the cry in Cable Street. No passerelle was the cry on the streets of Madrid. No passerelle is what Roy Watts and his comrades shouted when they crossed the Ebro River. I know Leicester, I know it has an history of active anti-fascism in this city. They have fought the National Front in the past, and if the National Front or the EDL or anyone else comes to this city spreading hatred, the workers of Leicester, I know, will stand up and will shout no passer on again. Red Front comrades.
Thank you, Charles.
You're right, can you go and stand in front of the stand?
And now I'd like to introduce Michael Gerard, who is speaking for the Leicester Secular Society. As we know, the Leicester Secular Society is the oldest secular society in the world. If you know where the building is, just 75 on the Gate. Please go down and join in. It's fantastic. Michael.
Yes, who's going? Okay, I'm here to talk about the former Leicester Secular Society member, Roy Watts, who was a volunteer who got killed at the Battle of the Ebro. I'll tell you what I know about Roy Watts. Roy Watts was born in 1914 in Portsmouth. Now that brings it home to me, and I suddenly realised, hey, but my dad was born in 1910, and my mum in 1912, so he was younger than my parents. Okay, he was born in Portsmouth in 1914, and then the family moved to Leicester, where he became...
Michael, hold it closer to you. Hold it closer. Put it near you.
Near me? Right. Okay.
That's better.
Where he got a job with the then Leicester...
Let me hold it for you.
Thanks. Oh, yes. He got a job with the Leicester Cooperative Society, where he worked in the High Street, and we were talking to a retired person who used to work in the old co-op building on the High Street, and he said, oh, I remember a plaque to Roy Watts that was in the building. I don't think that plaque is there anymore, but it shows that there are people who remember him and remember his existence, even now. Okay, he was working in the furniture sales department, but he was also a member of the Leicester Secular Society, and he would go to, after work, he would go to the Leicester Secular Society building, as we said, at 75 Humberstone Gate, and he would play table tennis in the basement, which is where the table tennis tables were. There were billiard tables on the next floor up, and after that he would have a cup of tea and innocently go home. But what we know, we've got that information from a woman who's over 100, Millie Croxall, who was the daughter of the original full-time caretaker at Secular Hall. Okay, what happened? He was also a member, we realise, of the Union of Shop Distributors and the Allied Workers, the trade union. Okay, he became a member of the ILB, and from there moved to the Young Communist League. He found time, during his brief lifetime, to do 4 years as a volunteer in the Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve, which I think taught him some quite useful skills for fighting. He heard the call to come to Spain because he heard that the Republican government was being brushed aside by Franco's rebel fascists, so he realised that that is where he had to go. And so in 14th of February 1938 he set out and managed to get past the hindrances imposed by the then government in England and go to Spain, where he joined the International Brigade as part of the 15th Division, the 15 earlier in the song, and that was the division which he belonged to. He joined the machine gun brigade, part of the brigade, the machine gun company, and from there, because he had some skills in that respect, he joined the communications company. Okay, he fought in the Battle of the Ebro, of the River Ebro, which was a long, long campaign. We've been to the Ebro under the guidance of Lyn Hurst, who's around here, and oh, there he is at the front. And you can climb to what's called the Punta Alta, which is the high point where you can see all down the valley and see the whole of the of the area that was fought over. Anyway, the sad fact is that Franco had been given planes by Mussolini and Hitler, and one of them was a bomber which managed to lob a bomb straight into the trench in which Roy Watts and his comrades were, and the bomb annihilated them all. Okay, so what happened next was that a month later, in October 1938, his fate was read out at a meeting at the Leicester Secular Society. And what we know is that his girlfriend, Phyllis Rowe, who expected him to come back and marry her, was devastated. And so that is what we know about Roy Watts' fight against fascism. And as Professor Paul Preston has said, because he's a major researcher about the Civil War, what he said is that if fascism had been defeated in Spain, then we probably wouldn't have had World War II. It's a sobering thought. But Roy Watts did his very, very best for us all. So, Roy Watts, we're very pleased, honoured, to unveil this plaque to your memory. We won't forget you. Thank you.
A lot of women fought fascism in the Spanish Civil War, and you've heard the words no pasarán today and over your lifetime. Dolores Ibarri was the woman who uttered those words, la pasionaria, and this is a translation of the speech she gave to say farewell to the International Brigaders. Compañeros, compañeras, camaradas. It's very difficult to say a few words in farewell to the heroes of the International Brigades because of what they are and what they represent. A feeling of sorrow, an intimate grief catches our throat. Sorrow for those who are going away, for the soldiers of the highest ideal of human redemption, exiles from their countries, persecuted by the tyrants of all peoples. Grief for those who will stay here, forever mingled with the Spanish soil, in the very depth of our heart, hallowed by our feeling of eternal gratitude. From all peoples, from all races, you came to us like brothers, like sons of immortal Spain. And in the hardest days of the war, when the capital of the Spanish Republic was threatened, it was you, gallant comrades of the International Brigades, who helped save the city with your fighting enthusiasm, your heroism, and your spirit of sacrifice. And Jarama, and Guadalajara, Brunete, Belchite, Levante, and the Ebro, in immortal verses, sing of the courage, the sacrifice, the daring, the discipline of the men of the International Brigades. For the first time in the history of the people's struggles, there was a spectacle, breathtaking in its grandeur, of the formation of international brigades to help save a threatened country's freedom and independence, the freedom and independence of our Spanish land. Communists, socialists, anarchists, republicans, men and women of different colours, differing ideology, antagonistic religions, yet all profoundly loving liberty and justice. They came and offered themselves to us unconditionally. They gave us everything, their youth or their maturity, their science or their experience, their blood and their lives, their hopes and aspirations, and they asked us for nothing. But yes, it must be said, they did want a post in battle. They aspired to the honour of dying for us. Banners of Spain salute these many heroes. Mothers, women, when the years pass by and the wounds of war are staunched, when the memory of the sad and bloody days dissipates in a present of liberty, of peace and of well-being, when the rancour has died out and pride in a free country is felt equally by all Spaniards, speak to your children. Tell them of these men and women of the international brigades. Recount for them how coming over seas and mountains, crossing frontiers bristling with bayonets, sought by raving dogs thirsting to tear their flesh, they reached our country as crusaders for freedom, to fight and die for Spain's liberty and independence, threatened by German and Italian fascism. They gave up everything, their loves, their countries, home and fortune, fathers, mothers, wives, children, and they came and they said to us, we're here, your cause, Spain's cause, is ours. It is the cause of all advanced and progressive mankind. Today, many are departing. Thousands remain, shrouded in Spanish earth, profoundly remembered by all Spaniards. Comrades of the international brigades. Political reasons, reasons of state, the welfare of that very cause for which you offered your blood with boundless generosity, are sending you back, some to your own countries and others to forced exile. Podéis marchar orgullosos, sois la historia, sois la leyenda. You can go proudly, you are history, you are legend. You are the heroic example of democracy's solidarity and universality in the face of the vile and accommodating spirit of those who interpret democratic principles with their eyes on hoards of wealth or corporate shares, which they want to safeguard from all risk. We should not forget you. And when the olive tree of peace is in flower, entwined with the victory laurels of the Republic of Spain, return. Return to our side, for here you will find a homeland. Those who have no country or friends, who must live deprived of friendship, all will have the affection and gratitude of the Spanish people, who today and tomorrow will shout with enthusiasm, "Vivan los héroes de las Brigadas Internacionales!"
Well, thank you, Eleanor. A dramatic speech by the passionate Laura.
This has been a wonderful ceremony, and I hope here in front of this plaque you will have many, many more over the years to remember these men and to remember why they went to Spain.
So thank you all for coming, and now I'd like to end this very important occasion here in Leicester.
Unites the world in song, so comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place, the international. we'll live together or we'll die alone. In a world poisoned by exploitation, the Jews have taken, now they must give. And end the vanity of nations, we've got one earth on which to live. So brothers and sisters, all the struggle carries on. The International Aid unites the world in song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. And so begins the final drama in the streets and in the fields. We'll resist, united against their armor. We'll defy their guns and shields. When we fight, provoked by their aggression, let's be inspired by life and love. For though they offer us concessions, change will not come from above. So brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International Aid unites the world in song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The International Ideal unites the human race. Viva!
Well, thank you, the choir. Thank you.